there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Samantha and this is my channel where I talk all about books. Today I'm coming to you with a video that I'm so excited to film because I really want to get rid of all of these books. I do these pretty frequently because basically a little backstory. Oh, first of all, let me just say what I'm doing. Today I'm doing an unhaul and it's probably like my biggest unhaul ever. I think I have like 50 books to get rid of. But this is actually going to be like kind of disjointed because I have some footage that I filmed back in April when I was at university and I was going through my books before I left to come home. So I got rid of a bunch of books back then. And obviously I don't have them anymore. So I'm just going to insert the footage that I have from that. And then we're going to talk about the other books that I decided to get rid of since coming home from university. And it's a lot. But basically a little bit of backstory. I say this every time, but I've been on BookTube for a really long time. I used to buy books like crazy. I never used the library, which was really stupid. Libraries are great, but obviously there's nothing wrong with buying all the books that you want if that's your vibe. But for me personally, I've now reached the point where if I don't want to reread a book, I don't want to own it. So basically most of the books I'm getting rid of are books that I've read and I now have outgrown and I know I'm not going to reread them. So I would much rather they go to a better home. And then also there are some books which I've like read and then DNF'd, or I just haven't read but I've lost interest in them. So yeah, I have many books to talk about, so I don't want to go on and on and on, but just disclaimer, do whatever you want with books. If you want to buy a lot of books, buy a lot of books. If you don't want to buy any books, don't buy any books, but like don't judge people for their book buying habits. Okay? Cool, because I know that this can be a bit of a controversial subject on BookTube for some reason. I think it's just because people love controversy. I don't care what people do. So yeah, and I enjoy clearing off my shelves if I know that the books are just like there and I don't need them, especially because like I have moved around a lot, so like it's a lot of stuff to carry around. So yeah, anyway, let's get rid of books because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, so the first two books that I have, I actually don't have with me because I already gave them to my roommate, and those are The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness, which I read in October, and I actually really enjoyed this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I'm never going to reread it, so I passed it on to one of my roommates. And the other one that I gave to her was Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kahn. I didn't really enjoy this book very much, unfortunately. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, so I'm not going to be rereading it, and she was interested in it, so she took it off my hands. The next one that I've got is Panic by Lauren Oliver. I read this in November, gave it 3 stars, never gonna reread it. I have The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. I read this in September. I didn't really like it. I gave it 2 stars. I'm never gonna reread it, so it's going. Next, I have 3 like textbook things that I got for school, which I don't need anymore, so these are going. I also have The Unbound by Victoria Schwab, which probably seems weird because I really enjoy the Schwab's books, but I read The Archived in 2017. I didn't like it that much. I had already bought this though, and I was holding on to both of them because I wanted to give The Archived another shot, but I tried to read it in October and I just like was not feeling it. So yeah, this is a shame because I know that these books are out of print now, I believe. So they're kind of hard to get your hands on, but I think you can still get ebooks, but I honestly don't think I'm going to change my mind about them. So yes, I'm also getting rid of The Archived, which is somewhere. The next book that I have is another one that I read for school, and that is The House of Bernarda Alba and Other Plays by Federico Garcia Lorca. I did a Federico Garcia Lorca module when I was in my 2nd year. I'm never going to reread these plays. I did enjoy them, but I mean, plays, not really my thing. Here is The Archived that I was talking about. Next, I have Nexus by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This one is sad only because I like specifically bought this to be signed, so like it's signed and personalized, but mainly I'm getting rid of this because I just didn't like the first one enough to read this, but I bought this before I had read that. So yeah, I did start reading this in like November, I think, and I got 20 pages in and I was bored as hell. Yeah, I didn't want to push through. Next, I have Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. This is the 4th book in the Vampire Academy series. I started rereading the series back in September and I really enjoyed rereading the first book. Didn't like the 2nd book that much, and I just decided that like there's no point in rereading vampire books from the mid-2000s, which are not that great. So yeah, but if you do have any vampire books that you'd like to recommend to me, let me know because I love paranormal stuff. If you have any recommendations, let me know. Oh, I should have talked about these all at once. I also have Last Sacrifice, Spirit Bound, and Frostbite, which are books 6, 5, and 2. So here I have books 4, 5, 6, and 2 because I already got rid of book 3 and book 1 is at home. The next book I'm getting rid of is Sad because it cost me so much money and I'm sad that I never actually read it, but I'm also not sad that I didn't read it because 1, it's by a problematic author, and 2, the book sounds wild and not in a good way. Anyway, that book is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I got this book in a subscription box in 2016, and so I ended up spending like, I think this book ended up being like £25 because of like being in the box with all of the other stuff. So the book itself wasn't £25, but it kind of feels like that. So yeah, that's a lot of money for a book that I actually never ended up reading. I did read 80 pages of this book and I didn't like it very much. Now I've heard a lot of negative things about J. Kristoff. And then I've also heard some really negative things about this book. I know that like in this book, the main character, who is like 16, gets a boob job to make her a better assassin. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, I don't want to read this. Also, the footnotes just like annoy me. The next book that I'm getting rid of is one that has been on my shelf since 2015, and the main reason I've been holding on to it is because I won it in a giveaway for the biannual bibliothon. Let me know if you guys remember that, because that hasn't been a thing for like the last 2 years. I think ended 2 years ago, and I won one of the challenges in, it was the first ever biannual bibliothon. I won one of the challenges. I was super proud of the video that I made. It is kind of embarrassing, so I'm not gonna like link it for you to go find, but it was a really funny skit at the time. But now I'm kind of embarrassed by it, just because it's like, it was just such a weird idea that came to my head. Anyway, but I won a book because of that video, and that was The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. So basically I didn't get to choose the book. It was just like the host of that day sent out their favorite book, and the host was Red from Little Red Reader, who doesn't make videos anymore. And I loved Red so much. I still do. I'm just sad that she doesn't make videos anymore, and like I never talk to her anymore, which is a shame. But yeah, I was holding on to this because I know it's like her favorite book, and I don't think I'm ever gonna read it. I started reading it in November, and I think I read like 30 pages, and I was just like, I'm not here for this. The next book that I have is another one, which is kind of sad because I only got it last year, so I feel like bad for my wallet for getting rid of it, but also I'm not going to reread it. But that is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So this was a solid read. I enjoyed my time reading it, and I loved how much it reminded me of living in Mexico, because this is set in Mexico, but I'm never going to reread it. I didn't love it enough to hold on to it, so I'm going to donate this, and then hopefully somebody else enjoys this more than me or the same level as me, because I did enjoy it. I just know that I'm not going to reread this, so this is going as well. And the last 3 books that I'm getting rid of are really sad in a way, because well, first of all, they're all hardcover, so I did spend a lot of money on these, and I do really, really like these books, but I'm never going to reread them. And yeah, it's a shame because like I literally like just bought the 4th one in December, and I had such a fun time reading these books because I was doing a read along for them with some other lovely people. But yeah, I'm probably never going to reread them, and they are like heavy hardbacks, which are going to be expensive to move. So I'm getting rid of the An Ember and the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. So I'm actually going to be giving this book to my friend Evie, and if she likes it, then I'll also give her the rest of the series. But if she doesn't, then I will probably sell these, because I mean, they're new, they're hardcovers. I take really good care of my books, so they're in pretty good condition. But yeah, I have An Ember in the Ashes, which also is the most stunning cover I think I've ever owned. So that's another reason why I'm sad to get rid of it, but like, I'm not gonna reread it. I was just really disappointed by the last book, and so I think like I would just never reread the whole series. I would maybe reread the first book, but I don't even know if I'd reread the first book. And I do have the ebook of the first book, so if I do feel like getting back into that world, I'll just reread the first book that I have the ebook of and not the rest of the series, because honestly, the first book is like my favorite. Or maybe the 3rd book. And then I also have A Torch Against the Night, another stunning cover, and then A Reaper at the Gates, which is also stunning. And then I do have the last book, which I'll be getting rid of as well, but I don't have it here with me. So yeah, those are all the books that I have to talk about today in this segment, and when I have more books, I'll be back to talk to you about those. So I'll see you soon. There is literally no order to this. I just have all of the books in boxes, and we're just going to go through it as quickly as possible. First things first, we have The Widow's Curse by Marie Rutkowski. I've talked about this book a bit recently because this book put me into a reading slump. I read like 2/3 of the book and then decided that I just didn't have any interest in it at all anymore. It's not that it's necessarily a bad book. It's just, it's like 2014 YA, which I have outgrown. So yes, this is the first one that's going. Next, I have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. First of all, this copy is really ugly because I bought it used, so it's like in terrible, terrible condition. Second of all, I read 200 pages of it and then decided that I did not want to finish it because I just didn't care where the story went. So yes, I'm also getting rid of this one. Sorry if this is your favorite book. I know it's very popular, but it's not for me. Next, I have Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. I actually really enjoyed this book. I've read it twice, and I think both times I gave it 4 stars. But it's a very like atmospheric, young adult fantasy, almost dystopian kind of book, but it's very, very slow moving and there are a lot of characters, so it's just a lot to keep up with. And after reading the second book and some of the third book, I just decided that actually I'm not that interested in seeing where the story goes. Next, I have The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I just don't like this edition and I have the ebook, so I don't need this. Next, I have The Alice Network by Kate Quinn. I think this is actually like the most recent book that I've acquired. I won it in a giveaway recently, but the problem is I didn't love this book. I thought it was just okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold on to it because I know that I won't reread it, and hopefully somebody else will read it and enjoy it more than I did. The next book that I have is Inherited by Frida Matthews. I got this book in a Fairy Loot box many years ago, and it's actually an uncorrected proof copy. Yeah, the book is actually like 200 pages shorter now, and so I don't want to read 200 pages of stuff that's been cut out because clearly it's like not worth it. And I started reading this book and I just like was not vibing with the writing style at all, so I'm gonna get rid of this one also. Next, I randomly have Lux Opposition. This one is like bittersweet. Oh, this is by Jennifer L. Armentrout, by the way. I loved the Lux series so much. I actually own the whole series. You'll see the other 2 books, or well, 4 books, but anyway, you'll see the other books in a bit. They're just in a different box. But I loved this series so much. It is such trash, but it's just so much fun. And I'm actually like, I think I might reread at least the first book before I get rid of them. But I'm definitely gonna get rid of them. But yeah, this one's like bittersweet because it's so fun, but so trash. And the next 2 books that I have are actually 3 books. One of them I've actually already got rid of, so I don't have it, but I'm getting rid of the Legend trilogy by Marie Lu. So I already got rid of Legend, but I'm getting rid of Prodigy and Champion because I read the first 2 books and they were okay, but like I just didn't have any interest in finishing off the trilogy or rereading it at any time. So yeah, I got rid of Legend already. I will be getting rid of these 2 as well. 1 box down, 2 to go. All right, we're on to box number 2. Let's do this thing. So first of all, we have One Dark Throne by Kendara Blake, the sequel to Three Dark Crowns. Like I said, I read this earlier in the year. I liked it, and I started reading the 3rd book, but I lost interest in the series, so this one is going. I also have The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Rees Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. These are stories that follow Magnus Bane, who is one of the characters in the Shadowhunters universe, and I think some of them are kind of relevant to the other books, but I just know that I'm not going to reread these stories. I would be tempted to buy the ebook bind up potentially, but I also just don't really like this cover because it's one of those ones where it's like printed onto the hardcover instead of like having a dust jacket. I don't like those as much. I liked the stories, but I'm not really a short story person, and yeah, it's pretty bulky and heavy, and like I said, I move around a bit, so I don't want massive books on my shelves. Speaking of which, I'm also getting rid of The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, the prequel to The Hunger Games. I was one of the few people who actually really enjoyed this, but I'm not going to reread this book, and again, it's like freaking massive, so I don't want this one on my shelf. I actually initially started getting rid of books because I was planning to move countries, and now that's kind of like, I'm still planning to move to a different country, but like in a while, because life happens. Sometimes you meet people and it changes your plans. So yes, I will move at some point. That's part of the reason I'm getting rid of a lot of books. Next book I'm getting rid of is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I started this book last summer. I read the first chapter, which was 50 pages. And I hate long chapters. And I just realized that this book probably wasn't going to be for me. Judging by reviews of people who have similar tastes in books to me, I was just like, you know, I don't think I'm actually going to vibe with this book, and it's going to be such an effort to read it. I'm not going to read it. I just, realistically, it's not going to happen because I don't really have any interest in it. Sorry. I know it's beloved, but it's also very much hated, so I feel like you fall into one of those camps, and I know that I'm probably going to be in the hate it camp. Next, we have Lux Consequences. This is the bind up of books 3 and 4 in the Lux series. Like I said, I'm going to get rid of these books, but I might reread the first one, and then probably after that the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But I will get rid of them after I'm done rereading them. Box number 2 is done. We are whipping through this. Time for the last box. Let's do this. So first of all, I have Starry Eyes by Jen Bennett. I would probably say that Jen Bennett is one of my favorite young adult contemporary authors. I've read almost all of her books. I think actually now she's released 2 that I haven't read yet. I want to get them from the library because I don't really enjoy YA as much as I used to, so I don't want to buy it and then dislike it and have to own it, but Tangent. Anyway, I enjoyed this one, but it wasn't my favorite thing ever. I do love the cover. I think it's really cute, but I'm not going to reread it, so it's going. Next, I have another Jen Bennett, which is Serious Moonlight. I actually really enjoyed this one. I think it covered a lot of important topics and themes, but like I said, I'm not going to reread it, so I'm getting rid of it. And also, I don't like the cover that much. Like, I think the colors are nice, but like, I don't know, there's something about it which I don't like. I'm also getting rid of Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I really enjoyed this book, but I think that other people could benefit from having it. Like, I don't need it anymore because I've read it, I enjoyed it, and now I think it's time for someone else to read it and enjoy it. So yes, I'm getting rid of this one also. Next, I have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. What I really loved about this book was the representation of anxiety. There were some passages where I felt so seen, but I just didn't actually like the story of this one that much. So I think even though I love the representation, I don't love the story, so there's no point in holding on to it because I'm not going to reread it. I know that for sure. And then I also have this poetry collection called She Is Fierce. It's basically like a bunch of poems by a bunch of different female authors. I just didn't really vibe with it because it just wasn't very cohesive. I started to read it, but I only read like a few poems and then I was like, this isn't going to be for me. Next, I have And I Darken by Kirsten White. I spoke about this in my most recent reads. And I started reading this. I think I read a decent chunk, like 60 or 80 pages, something like that, but I just wasn't really vibing with it. And I don't know if it was like the timing or if it's the book's fault, but I don't know. Judging by the reviews, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it, so I think I'm just gonna get rid of it. Okay, next we have Lux Beginnings. Such a weird order. As I said, this was completely randomized, but this is the bind up of books 1 and 2 in the Lux series, and as I said, I will get rid of them, but I might reread them first. Next, I have Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I read this book years ago, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. Actually, this is a signed copy that I won in a giveaway. I just think rereading this, I wouldn't enjoy it that much. And the next one I have is The Program by Suzanne Young. I started reading this one in May, I think. And I read like, I don't know, not very many pages, but I was like, nah, this is not for me. And then the final book that I'm getting rid of, I'm so sad. I'm so mad. Like, I just feel so many things when I look at this book because it has the most beautiful cover. And so that makes me want to keep it. But I just do not like the inside at all. And the more I think about what's inside of the book, the more I dislike it. Because I'm just like, it was such a good premise, but it was just not, it was not the one. Anyway, that book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. The more I look at it, the more I think about it, the more I dislike it and I'm disappointed by it. So this is such a shame because I wanted to love it so much, but I just don't at all. So it's going, it's gone. Anyway, but that was the final book of the book Unhaul. So many books to get rid of. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. These books have literally been sitting in boxes in my room for like 6 months because I kept on going on hiatus and not filming the video. So I'm glad to have finally done it. And now I can get rid of these books and send them off to a new home. That is all for my end of the year massive unhaul. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you feel about unhauls. I know that they can be divisive. Some people love them, some people hate them. I love them. I like to watch them. I like to do them. It makes me feel so much better to get rid of things that I don't need anymore. It also makes me feel bad about myself because I've clearly like fallen into the consumerism trap, but now I'm better about it. So yeah, I was young, I was a kid. Of course I fell into the consumerism trap, but now I know better. For me personally, again, no shade to anyone. It's just from me, my personal, where I am right now. I don't want to own a lot of books. So yeah, I want to own a very small collection of books that I adore. That's why I'm getting rid of so many books. But yeah, anyway, let me know how you feel about unhauls. I want to know. But that is all for today's video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. But anyway, I will see you soon. Bye.